Hi, Evan Pantazi. Just got an interesting question from Jimmy Butch, and I'm going to read it off a piece of paper because it's kind of complex in stages. Also, I don't want to mess it up. So, Jimmy Butch asked, my Sifu, Sigung, and Masters and Grandmasters simply use four stages increasing in severity of damage and mortality. Okay. They have their system. It's called Dim Ching, Dim Zu, Dim Mak, and Mik Dim Mak. Okay? And he further asks, would you be willing to set me straight so that I'm clear about my terminology? Well, my terminology, I don't use the Chinese terminology because I don't speak the Chinese language. I prefer to use the actual structures. Now, Dim Mak is translated in many different ways. Depends on the dialect, depends on the person, it depends on the inflection in the person's voice when they say it. All these different things have different meanings. If it means cavity press, all right, that is far different than an arterial press or a nerve press. So when I look at these things, I've discounted the Chinese and Okinawan terminology because, again, most of these dialects are dead. Okay, you look at Hogan. It's not exactly dead, but it's pretty close to it. You find someone that can speak Hogan. It's very hard unless you're on Okinawa. And then many people over there don't speak it as well. So you have to find the dialects and their exact meanings. But it really doesn't matter what it's called, okay, as long as you know how to do it. Now here's the big confusing part. I went out on the internet to search some of these terms like Dim Ching I never heard of, okay? And I went out to do some searches, and it all leads back to all these authors have conceptualized it in the Chinese acupressure meridians. Well, if you press an acupuncture point, you're not going to press far enough in to get to an artery, okay? And some may lay over arteries and things like that, but really to get to an artery to cause a major damage, instead of trying to go through a muscle with a fingertip or a knuckle or something of that nature, you have to go beside and underneath. So I use the structures of the human body, the real ones. You cannot see a meridian on a human body. And I have done pressure points. Now I'm a healer, and I've talked about this before. I've been a healer before I was a Kyusho martial artist. All right, and I know the terminology. I know the points. I know the meridians. I know the cycles. I know all of that, and I've been doing the Kyusho for a little over 30 years. And I can tell you this: they're not the same thing. Okay. You can use those areas and put enough pressure into it to hurt a person, but here's the first level that I'll give you in my breakdown. The first level is pain compliance. Okay, you push someone hard enough on a certain, or on any area actually, it's going to cause pain. That person is going to withdraw from the pain. It causes a reaction. If you do it quickly enough, that person could have a knee-jerk reaction where the joints buckle in or buckle down on the knees. That's the first level. The second level is if you cause a mental lapse. Okay, I call it a technical knockout. In boxing, they call it a technical knockout, where the guy doesn't go down. He's just in la-la land for a second or can't move for a second. This is called a technical knockout in Western terminology, and I kind of like that term. But I call it a first level incapacitation. All right, so we went from pain compliance to a first level incapacitation. Second level is when the person drops. Okay, when the person drops because they lose bodily control. All right, that means you've gotten deeper into their neurological systems, maybe even the blood systems, because they could have fainted a little bit or had a fainting spell, a dizziness, and then just dropped because they lost balance because of that dizziness. All right, but that doesn't mean that they've gone unconscious. They drop to the floor. Okay, they're somewhat aware of what's going on, not completely. They can't really move their body too much. Sometimes if you've gotten just the beginning of that stage, they might drop to the ground and be able to rectify themselves or bring themselves back up to their feet. But a lot of people you see in some of my films, they struggle on the ground. They try to lift their head, or their legs try to move, or they try to move their arms to get themselves up, and their body fails. That's a little deeper level of that subset. All right, so that was a level 2 incapacitation, where their body is incapacitated and their conscious mind is not altogether with it. The third stage is a knockout, or a level 3 incapacitation, where the person has gone unconscious. They've either fainted from a drop in their blood pressure, or they've just passed out from a neurological shock. Okay, this is where they don't see, they don't hear. Sometimes it's again, nothing is cut and dry. Sometimes they can hear a little bit, sometimes they can see a little bit, but they're not aware of what's going on. All right, and they don't even realize that they went down. Some people realize it when they go down. They wake back up when they hit the floor. There are many different levels, as I stated. Now there's a level above that, okay, and that's more in the realm of the blood systems. All right, and this is where you're causing damage to the body. Now you can do this with the nerves as well, but you're causing damage. So not only does the person go down, possibly out, but now they can't function maybe a limb. Maybe you paralyzed the limb. Maybe you numbed it out permanently because a nerve was torn. All right. There are many different levels to that too. So that's physical damage. We don't need to go that far, and we shouldn't go that far because of course, there's ethics involved. Yeah, I know a guy's attacking me, he deserves what he gets, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you're going to have to weigh that one on yourself, or a court's going to weigh it on you anyway. But that's where you start getting into damages that they're going to go into court. Okay, and then you're going to have a legal battle because you didn't. The jury is going to think you didn't. That guy didn't deserve to get permanently damaged for the rest of his life, or have this impairment so he can't work. It's just going to be a big mess. But that's where the damage starts. And then of course there's things like a potentially mortal attack, okay? Not just a physical attack where, okay, my arm isn't going to work properly or my leg isn't going to work properly for the rest of my life. You can't hear because someone popped your eardrum or something of that nature. But when you get into the next level, you're tearing vascular tissues, you're puncturing organs. Now, all of these are survivable if you catch them in time, okay? If not, you got an increased rate of toxicity in the body, and a person could die from that over whatever time span. Everybody's different. Everybody's body is got different tolerances. They've got different stamina, different immune systems. So you can't determine that. Nobody can determine how long anything's going to take. Say you explode a liver, okay, or dissect a liver. How long? Well, there's a time range, but you can't tell, okay, because of the individual. And who knows? They might even die immediately, okay? Now, this is probably going to get banned from YouTube or demonetized on YouTube because I'm talking about all this kind of stuff. Anyway, the final level, of course, is irreparable damage and, of course, mortality. So there's so many different breakdowns in what we do. And that's because we go by the nerves, we go by the blood systems, we go by the I wouldn't attack the lymphatic system. There is one attack that I do that does attack the lymphatic system, but why the heck attack a lymph system. All right, you might as well attack the blood system or the nerve system. Nerve system's more superficial, easier to get to. You can do this with ballistics. You can do this with concussion, punching, kicking, striking, and that kind of thing. The deeper aspect of the blood work, you're going to have to be a little bit more skilled. You're going to have to be close range combatives to get that to actuate. And of course, that's about the range where you're going to get more damage into the organs themselves. Because if you take a full distance shot into an organ, it's going to be hard to transfer all that power you need to break a rib off into a kidney, for example, or a liver or a spleen or whatever you're doing, all right, or bursting a bladder. You're going to have to be at the correct distances to maximize that push through the tissues, the protective tissues of the body, whether it be muscle, bone, skin, whatever. So I hope that answers your question. Let me get this piece of paper again and see. So my terminology is based on medical science, okay, real structures in the human body, not the acupuncture points. And anytime you hear a person that says they're doing dim mak or dim su or dim ching or Kyusho or whatever, atemi, and they're talking about acupuncture points, they're not doing what the old masters did. When you read their book and they talk about hypovolemic shock, that's not done by a pressure point. That's done by striking something internally, a real structure in the body to cause that real result. So that's my answer, a little long-winded. But again, there are different stages, and it all depends on your force, your skill, the situation, how skilled the other guy is. You never know what you're going to be able to inflict. You can't predict that. What you have to do is you have to train and get your hands used to feeling that reaction you're going to get. You're going to have to recognize what you've done. This all comes with many, many years of training, hands-on. It doesn't come by just reading a book, okay, or listening to another person talk about it. You actually have to do it. And that's why it drives me crazy. A lot of my old teachers used to talk about, the death touch. And they could only talk about it. They never showed it, never demonstrated it. Okay, I've gone to some Kyusho seminars where the people have known who I was. Okay, and I remember this guy local too. I'm not going to say his name, but he said, this point you should never hit, it can kill a person, blah, blah, blah. So he stands the guy up, and it's a point on the top of the head. He called it Bahoy, okay, a pressure point name. He says, you never hit it. He takes his fists and he hammer strikes the guy right on the top of the head. Guy didn't flinch. Guy didn't even go down, okay? It was a pretty good hit. But the guy was a conditioned martial artist. So the guy didn't go down. He didn't flinch. So he said, and everybody, I look around the room, and everybody's going, oh, like something miraculous just occurred in front of him when nothing at all happened. It was all BS. All right. Now, if you took a hammer and struck that point, yeah, there's going to be a problem. But the hammer fist, especially the soft padded part of the hand. So anyway, he went on with the demonstration and hit it 3 more times. The guy never fell down. Those people thought they had a great seminar in the death touch, or dim mak, he called it. And it was all just a remarkable session in bullshit. Okay? Nobody showed an actual demonstration of anybody going down or having the effects. The people who didn't do it to themselves because they were too scared because of the hype this guy put on it. It was just an amazing event. I enjoyed it. But I didn't learn too much. Okay, I learned what not to do in a course. All right, but anyway, you want to learn the effects of Kyusho, you have to get in there and actually touch it, do it, feel it, and get it done to yourself. Okay, last week I was working out with the Shihans, and I got tagged on something that to this day, and this was about almost 2 weeks now. Okay, tomorrow would be 2 weeks since I got the hit. And I'm still racked in pain, okay? I still have a problem. And it sounds like I'm okay right now, but you can't move too much. I mean, I had to shovel twice, and that killed me worse, all right? These things have different levels of power, different levels of damage that they can occur depending on how the strike was done, the physical condition of the recipient, the preparation of the recipient. If you're caught by surprise, you don't prepare, man, these things sink in deep. Okay, if you can brace up and lock into a position like you do in a san chin, well, then you can protect yourself somewhat. You can still override them, all right, especially with the right tools. And that's why those G hands are so important to our Kyusho study. Well, anyway, I'm going on too long. I'm rambling on a little bit. I hope that answers your question. Again, I don't get into the terminology as much as the real structures, the real effects of the real Kyusho. Thanks for watching.